Zlotnick was as good as his word. His expedition found the Barbasco route in Guatemala. Julian now had the raw material he needed to achieve his goal, making steroid drugs available to all who needed them.
He always talked about being able to lower the cost of some of these anti-inflammatory agents, these steroids, so that the common man could buy them.
Even if it meant lower profits for Julian Laboratories. One year, his chemists found a way to quadruple the yield on a product on which they were barely breaking even.
I thought personally that was a good opportunity to recover some profits from the low yields of the previous year. Instead, he dropped the price of this stuff from $4,000 a kilo down to about $400 a kilo. And I couldn't understand why he would do that.
He wanted to make money, but he also wanted things to be available for people.
Much of Julian's own money was still tied up in his idle Mexican plant. To make good on that investment, he would have to resolve some unfinished business with an old rival.
Will Dr. Percy Julian come forward?
Julian believed Syntex had used its influence with the Mexican government to keep his factory from opening. After other American companies made similar charges, the Senate held public hearings in 1956. Julian was the star witness.
Was there any company in Mexico objecting to your getting a permit?
It became very evident that the Syntex company was objecting to the permit. In fact, Dr. Samlo told me he would fight to the last to keep me and anyone else out of Mexico.
As a result of the Wonder Drug hearings, the Justice Department took action against Syntex. Julian was finally able to open his Mexican plant, but the mounting pressures of running a business left him little time to savor the hard-won victory. Every month there were shipments to make, and severe financial penalties for missed deadlines.
We live, for the most part, in a highly stressed, a very competitive environment. A small company, limited resources, and dealing with a huge industry.
There were many occasions where 2, 3 o'clock in the morning would come and you'd still be in the laboratory working.
When I complained about the lack of sleep, Dr. Julian advised me that sleep could be dangerous for my health. I could die in my sleep. And while you're contemplating that, go back out in the plant and continue to work. We have a shipment to get out.
But there was an unusual sense of loyalty that made people work and want to see him and the company successful. How else could you get a crew to work 24 hours a day, that sort of thing?
And successful it was. Julian Laboratories would eventually make its founder a millionaire, one of the wealthiest black businessmen in America. For his chemists, the reward was an opportunity hard to find anywhere else, a chance to work in their chosen field.
When I was looking for a job, some people made excuses, and then there were some that just said, "We don't hire you people."
They told me that I was too well qualified to take a job. I felt that they were saying, "Come back maybe another time. Come back when you're white."
Scores of chemists, unwelcomed elsewhere, would use their years with Julian as a springboard to careers in industry and academia.
I'm proud to say that our laboratories in Franklin Park employed more black chemists than any other facility in America. On the other hand, for such a small organization to have such a significant role in true integration, it's a sad commentary on the state of affairs in America.
Outside Julian's lab, America was still a nation divided by race, and Julian was constantly reminded of it. Even at meetings of the American Chemical Society.
When we went to the meeting, he said, "Ed, grab me by the arm, and when we go in, so people will know that we're together." Because he was afraid being a black man, they'd throw him out.
Neither wealth nor fame could insulate Julian from bigotry. But with success came the chance to do something about it. Increasingly, he set aside his science to fight for racial equality. He joined the NAACP and the Urban League in their battle against discrimination in jobs and housing. He led a national fundraising campaign to support civil rights lawyers. And in speech after speech, he preached that education and the pursuit of excellence, the hallmarks of his own life, were the key to black advancement. But many younger African Americans were impatient with traditional tactics and rejected the sermons of Julian's generation.
Our children and our grandchildren saw all of this and suffered for their oft-time Uncle Tom parents who seemed to be doing nothing about it. Finally, their pent-up agony exploded on us.
I would say, explain this to me. How is it that this is all going to change? He would say, well, it will. There are lawyers and they're going to fight for change, and if you set an example, things will change. Well, I don't have forever.
In the 1960s, Julian's son drove to Nashville to join the effort to desegregate the city's lunch counters.
On the one hand, he was very proud, but on the other, he was very scared. One time he said to me, you know, this is not a game. These people are playing for real. And my response was, so are we.
The 60s were an awakening for Julian. He came to see that the nation could not afford to wait for the old ways to work.
For more than a century, since the end of slavery, we have watched the denial of elemental liberty to millions of black people in our Southland.
I think he saw that things were moving so fast that if the country didn't change, there was going to be serious, serious trouble.
By the late 1960s, Julian had come to support the more confrontational tactics of his son's generation.
My father wrote later, it wasn't going to be enough just to be a model citizen, to be educated, to do all the things that anybody could possibly expect of you, because none of that would ever change the fact that you still couldn't go and eat in a restaurant that didn't want to serve you.
Branded first unfit to spend their money for food or drink in public places along with other Americans. Denied the ballot and confined to ghettos that stifled hope and ambition. Victims of murder of the mind, heart, and spirit. This is the story of the American Negro.